Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, and we generally like to talk a lot of bollocks for tabletop gaming in general. And in this video we're going to be talking about a dice selection Euro game. We're going to be talking about the Grand Austria Hotel, and in this game you will be selecting a die from a pool. You'll be taking the selected action that will allow you to get the Emperor's favour and hopefully get you points that will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We'll be telling you what we do like, don't like. We'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not the Grand Austria Hotel is worth your time and bother today and in the future. So remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. See you after this. Bollocks! So, Grand Austria Hotel, how'd you play this game? So, Grand Austria Hotel is a dice selection Euro game that spans 7 rounds. The aim of the game is, funnily enough, to get the most victory points. And at the beginning of the game, everyone's going to get a hotel board. You're going to take 3 room tiles of your choice. You place the first one in the bottom left, and then you'll place the other 2 orthogonally adjacent to that room. Everyone will choose a guest from the display, and you'll put it in one of the 3 slots in your cafe at the front of your hotel. You've got to try and get rid of these guests as soon as possible because they will give you -1 victory points at the end of the game. Everyone will also get 1 of each of the resources. There's going to be white cake, there's going to be brown strudel, there's going to be red wine, there's going to be black coffee, right? And you'll stick these cubes in your kitchen. So the first player will roll all the dice and you'll allocate the dice to the associated slot on the actions board. When it's your turn, you will choose 1 of these dice, and the amount of dice that are in that slot will determine how many times you can take that action. So the actions that you can take are, you can get cake or strudel. One of the restrictions of this is you can never have more strudel than cake, because strudel is probably more expensive, or at least more strudel is if you want to hire it. There's the opportunity to get wine or coffee, but you can never have more wine than coffee. Don't want your guests getting pissed and throwing up all over the carpet. There's the option to prepare rooms. Depending on how many dice are here, you'll be able to prep a room ready for the guests that are in your cafe, right? You'll pay the cost equivalent to what floor they are on, and then you'll take a room tile of that colour, you'll stick it on the door open side on that slot, orthogonally adjacent to an existing tile, right? So the next action that you could take is you can gain money and or movements up the Emperor's track. The Emperor's track is useful for when there's intermediate scoring at the end of the 3rd, the 5th and the 7th round. So it's a very important thing that you've got to consider. But you're also going to be torn with the amount of money that you need, because money is scarce in this game, right? So the next action you could take is you'll be able to play 1 of the staff cards from your hand. At the beginning of the game, you're going to get 6 staff cards. Each one of these has got a cost, and the amount of dice that's in this space will determine the discount that you get from paying that staff, right? And the final action is the Joker action. You'll be able to pay a krona and you'll be able to take 1 of the other actions, but you'll be using the amount of 6s in that space rather than the amount of dice that are in the other space. And the last action you could do is you could pass. If you decide to pass, then you'll have to wait for everybody else to take 2 actions before you can take your turn. What you'll do when you pass, you'll take all the dice and you will remove 1, stick it in a dustbin, and then you'll re-roll all the dice and reallocate them, right? This is sort of like a useful way of changing things up if the dice aren't working for you, right? Which happens quite a bit. So when you come to the 3rd, the 5th and the 7th round, then you will do a bit of intermediate scoring. You'll look at where you are on the Emperor's track, you'll get that many victory points, and then you'll move back a number of spaces according to what round you're in. So if you're in round 5, you'll move back 5 spaces. If you're in the black space, then you'll get the negative effect on the Emperor's tiles, and if you are in the yellow space, then you'll get the positive effect. If you're in the beige space, then you'll get fuck all. So there's a number of free actions that you could do on your turn. You pay £1 and you can pretend that there is an extra die in the action space that you want to take. You can pay £1 to move cubes from your kitchen onto your guests. When you have completed the guest demand, then you'll be able to stick them in a prepped room. Take the cubes off the card and you'll flip the room tile over to show that it is occupied. You'll get the reward that's on the guest's card, right? There's also some politics cards at the top of the board. If you fulfill these objectives, then you can stick 1 of your discs on that spot for a maximum of 15 points. And you'll keep doing this. You will keep satisfying your guests, so to speak. You'll keep dumping them in the rooms. And then when you get to the end of the 7th round, you'll do a bit of final scoring. You'll get points for certain victory points on your staff cards. You'll get victory points for each occupied room, dependent on what floor they're on. You'll get points for leftover cubes. And if you've got any satisfied tossers in your cafe, then you'll lose 5 points. And then the player with the most points will be the winner of Grand Austria Hotel, right? So what do we like about Grand Austria Hotel? So the first thing that we really like about this game is the turn order is quite novel. At the beginning of the game, you're going to get a tile with like a 1 and an 8 on it, and this will mean that you'll go first and last on your turn. Another thing that's really good about this is that at the end of each round, you'll be passing the tile to your left. So in a 4-player game, for example, everybody will get an equal number of turns going first and last. There's also a nice touch where if you get the middle tile, if you get the 4 and a 5, then you're going to get turns back to back. So it's important that you plan for this accordingly, right? So yeah, turn order is quite novel in this game, and it sort of makes the game a little bit fairer than it otherwise would be. So the second thing that we really like about this game is the amount of variety that's in the box. Not only have you got a semi-randomized setup where you'll be choosing the politic cards out of piles of A, B and C, you'll be choosing the Empress tiles out of stacks of A, B and C. You've got loads and loads of different guests. You've got the tourists that can go in any rooms. So that's an interesting touch. And you've got that massive stack of staff cards that are all different. Sort of reminds us of those occupation cards in Agricola, where the introduction of them is going to give you loads and loads of options. Yeah, and it's just really fun to see which staff work with which guests. Some of the staff cards are really powerful. I mean, there's a staff card in the game that lets you pay a quid to avoid the negative effects of the Emperor tiles, which is absolutely enormous, right? So yeah, we really like the amount of variety in this, and every time you play the game, it's going to be completely different. So the third thing that we really like about this game is that the theme is rock solid, right? It doesn't really feel like you're running your own hotel. It doesn't go into it that deep, but all of these staff cards and all the guest cards make thematic sense to me. So for instance, you might have the barkeeper and it says once per round you receive 1 wine, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? Barkeeper's going to give you free booze. Or you might have the confectioner. This lovely gentleman is going to give you 4 cake as a one-off bonus, right? And you don't even have to suck any to get it. And you might even have an encounter with the lift boy, right? And he will give you 5 victory points for each fully occupied column, purple or not, in your hotel, right? So yeah, we really do like the way that the guest cards and the staff cards add to the overall thematic sensibilities of this game, yeah? So what don't we like? That Grand Austria Hotel. So the first thing that we don't like about this is it puts us in a little bit of a difficult position, because in our experience, this game plays best with 4 players. I know it's pretty good with 2, but we enjoy it most with 4. But the problem with that is that you're going to get a load of downtime in between turns, right? Okay, you do get the opportunity to have back-to-back turns, but if you've got that first and 8th turn tile, you're going to take your turn and it's going to have to go round, and it's going to have to come all the way back round again, right? Whilst 4 players is the optimal player count in this game, in my opinion, it's also bogged down by the fact that if you are going to go first, you're going to be sitting there playing with your penis. So the second thing that we don't like about this is that, as with all of these dice placement games, you are going to be at the mercy of that initial die roll. There are ways to mitigate the dice by spending cash, but cash is incredibly scarce in this game. The only way you're going to get cash is by going to that Emperor cash slot. But if that's not available, then you're going to have to rely on guests, and you're going to need money to get guests into rooms, because you've got to pay to put the tiles in the rooms, right? You can pass to re-roll the dice, but this, again, there's no guarantee that you're going to actually get the dice results that you want. I mean, we played this the other day where I had a load of guests in my hotel that needed wine. I thought that there was going to be a good chance of getting wine. Somebody passed, re-rolled all the dice, and that was it. It was game over. None of my guests were going to get smashed out of their face that night, and they ended up staying in my cafe, and they were just generally unhappy. And I do not like unhappy guests in my hotel, right? So yeah, you're always going to be at the mercy of the dice, and sometimes, not all the time, because it contains a dice selection mechanism, you might end up feeling like you've been done over. So the final thing that we don't like about this is that where the staff cards are really, really important to enhance your chances of victory, you're going to end up getting loads of these staff cards, right? And it's going to be very difficult to remember what they all do. Like, we played this the other day, and I think I had like 6 staff cards out, and my mum had like 7 or 8 staff cards, and we kept forgetting to activate them. And we got to the point where we were asking if we could take our turn back. Could I activate that now and take it back? Oh, I forgot to do this. I didn't get the victory points for this. And things just got jumbled, and we ended up having this sort of mini house rule where if the game hasn't changed, then you can activate or take stuff back, right? But once the game has changed in any form whatsoever, then that is that. So it is a little bit of a pain in the arse having something that is instrumental to your chances of victory, but having to remember 8 or 9 different mechanics that you have to keep a check on at all times, right? So to summarise, is Grand Austria Hotel worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we're going to say, yes, this is a very fun Euro game that is driven by dice selection. It is thematically strong and there's a load of variety to keep you interested through multiple playthroughs of this one. It doesn't feel like it gives you enough time to do everything that you want. 7 rounds for us isn't enough. We want 8 or 9 rounds, just a little bit longer to get that engine in motion. And as a result, you may feel frustrated with this one because you're not going to be able to do half of what you want to do, and you might be left feeling cheated at the end of the game where you don't have enough money to open that last room to give you the 15 points on that politics card that might have won you the game, right? Having said that, we really enjoyed it. We are a sucker for these types of games. If you're interested in any alternatives, you could try The Voyages of Marco Polo, you could try Trois, or even a new game called Teletum. They all feature the same sort of thing, and I suppose it all comes down to what sort of theme you prefer. So there you go, that is the Grand Austria Hotel. Remember, if you're newer, then please consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. See you next time.